And I am recording.
Okay. Mike then started talking about glamourpuss, and it was very nice to say glamourpuss was a beautifully put together book, down to the finest detail, stunning art. And he asked, how was this accomplished? Tracing, photocopy reference. The process really involved going to Shoppers Drug Mart and going to their fashion magazine section and flipping through the fashion magazines looking for Al Williamson girls. Girls that look, girls who look and their outfits look as if they were drawn by Al Williamson. Sometimes other people, sometimes Neil Adams, sometimes Stan Drake, but most of the time what I was looking for was Al Williamson looking girls and looking outfits. And then I would buy the ones that I was interested in and bring them back here and photocopy them on a light enough setting so that I could get all of the detail in the outfit and trying to get the density of the image, which was usually a color photograph, down to Al Williamson's densities as well. So, and then put that photocopy on the light table and then put tracing paper over the back of the photocopy and trace it in reverse onto the tracing paper, and then put the tracing paper on the illustration board and trace over the pencil, which was on the other side, and that would transfer a very light image onto the illustration board, which I would then attempt to ink like Al Williamson. That was most of what I was trying to teach myself to do, which I never really got to that point where, okay, now that I can trace this and transfer it and then tighten it in pencil and then ink it, and I'm getting closer to Alex Raymond by way of Al Williamson. Now, hopefully I will be able to do this without having to use an actual photograph and without having to trace it. But that's a giant leap that really, as far as I'm concerned, comes down to genius. That only Al Williamson was Al Williamson. Only Alex Raymond was Alex Raymond. They had the capability of seeing that way and translating the really extremely realistic image that they pictured in their head onto the artboard, and then rendering from there. It's when people would say to Al Williamson that he's a genius, he would say, I'll tell you what, if I ever invent a cure for cancer, we can call me a genius. Until then, why don't we just say that I'm a really good comic book artist? So but there is a quality when I'm looking at really good reproductions of Heart of Juliet Jones or Rip Kirby or Secret Agent X9 or any of those guys' stuff, and going, not only did they do this without using photo reference, although Williamson used a lot of photo reference on Secret Agent X9, particularly Alex Raymond and Stan Drake had the capability of doing not only being this accurate with what they were doing, excuse me,
Mm-hmm.
but being able to do it like 6 strips a week just to stay current, and some of them 6 strips a week and a Sunday page, just to stay current, not to fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
Which ties into the next part of Mike's question. Did you reproduce all those old strips from just looking at them? No, again, I traced them, and that was, how much did you learn firsthand from that process? How did you find all the old strip material, and then reworked all that again into The Strange Death of Alex Raymond? That was a matter of there's best resources. I had at the beginning really just Spanish translations of Rip Kirby, really, really bad reproduction. And the only good reproduction that I could find was in Ross Cochran's cartoonist showcase, and publications like that, where he was reproducing the original artwork, and running auctions. So it was a matter of extrapolating. I would say, okay, here's a Rip Kirby strip from 1948 that I can actually see because it's in Russ Cochran's catalog, and here's all the strips that are around it in the really fuzzy Spanish reproduction, and just learning to say, okay, I have to mentally take all of the noise out of this image and get it down just to what I'm pretty sure the artwork looks like under there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a reproduction nightmare for trying to do newspaper strips that were this good and to try and do them accurately. So it's like I'm not really pointing fingers, but when you do see Alex Raymond's original artwork and you see it full size or close to full size, which was the next stage that I got to, where Heritage Auctions was
Mm-hmm.
auctioning art, but also reproducing it online, and I would get Sandy to print it out full size at the local quick printer, and it's okay. Now I'm seeing more Rip Kirby strips, and I'm seeing exactly how they actually look.
Mm-hmm.
And surprise, surprise, a lot of the time, the ones that I was extrapolating, when I did finally see the original, it's like, yeah, I was pretty close to that.
That's good. That's great. I mean,
Yeah, it's one of those. Now that it's all over, I mean, I can just the last week mocking up Strange Death of Alex Raymond Volume 3. I'm trying to learn to do dead hand photorealism art, which is okay. I'm not really sure how this is going to work because it's not exactly perfect when I'm just doing service stuff. But I got to the point of John Marsh's Christmas Eve heart attack on Sea Island, which is an episode that, as I'm reading it, I'm going, I really want to draw this. I mean, most of the stuff in Strange Death of Alex Raymond, I can just use individual illustrations and narrative tricks to keep people moving through the story because it's a jaw-dropping story. It's not my story, so I can say that. But this was, okay, I want to draw this. I hope I have the photorealism chops when I get there that I will be able to draw this. That's more of a reaction to Margaret Mitchell's fatal car accident, when she got hit by the car on Peachtree Street in 1949. Going, okay, I really want to do that. Trying to picture, okay, how am I going to do that? Has been rolling around in my mind all along, and it was like, okay, in order to find out if I can do that, let's do John Marsh's Heart Attack, and that's a much shorter sequence. I think I can do that in about 7 pages, and let's just do it dead hand photorealism, which is kind of, it's a mix of pasted up photocopies, but then just going in very, very spontaneously with the brush pen, which getting again closer to Alex Raymond, because he was a very spontaneous guy, which is spontaneous artist, particularly in his rendering, just sheer inking confidence, which you can't fake. You either have the confidence that you know what you're doing and you just go in and there it is, or you're driving yourself crazy trying to focus too tightly on it, and it's just not gonna work properly because you're clamping down on it. As I said in the Guide to Self-Publishing, it's a slide. Go down the slide. Let go of the sides. Don't try and edge your way down the slide. Be spontaneous about it. So it's, I think, a pretty successful experiment so far. It's very difficult for me to, as a control freak about my own work, to just let go of that level of control and just say, okay, you're doing raindrops hitting pavement at night, and basically you just need to do the concentric circles where the raindrops are hitting. But it's going to take too much risk to do a really accurate oval, so just do a spontaneous oval. And that's what I was doing today, just before I called you. And it takes a lot of staring at the page, going, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm picturing that I'm going to do, and then just spontaneously doing it, and then also going, okay, stop, those 4 brush strokes work perfectly. I'm really happy with those, but now I'm tightening up, so now I have to stop and try and get back to the Zen state that I need to be in.
Yeah, I there's this Italian term with Renaissance artists and Mannerist artists too. There's this term called sprezzatura, where you want to show an ease of use in how you create a painting, or a fresco. You don't want the work to look too labored, because when it looks too labored, it doesn't flow quite as well. When you talked about Alex Raymond and the way he was so spontaneous, that term came to my mind.
Yes, it's a very good example, and we also have to understand that that's a lot like monotheism. There's a whole spectrum of, you can't really fault the people who could, the academy painters who, okay, now that we know how painting is done, now that Leonardo da Vinci has shown the way, we want to go further and further into that. We want to get more and more and more and more accurate. The more spontaneous you get, the less accurate it is, and consequently, the lesser a painting it is. The critic's name slips my mind, but the one that said of I'm not even going to even think of the painter that he was talking about, was fleeing hanging a paint pot in the face of the public. Because, no, a painting is a painting is a painting. It's either 100% accurate, and consequently you're rising in the academy, or it's a rough sketch, a color sketch of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one or the other. It's like, well, no, it's not. The Impressionists have kind of proved that
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Even though the Impressionists, almost all of them abandoned Impressionism in their lifetimes because they couldn't take the pressure of, that's just a color sketch. That's just sloppy.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do a good finished picture, and maybe you'll get more commissions, and maybe you'll be able to, be in the Royal Academy exhibition at whatever it is that everybody wanted to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you got to pick your own spot, and you got to say, this is how spontaneous I'm going, and this is how literal I'm going to be. And some people are born to spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
Some people achieve spontaneity. And some, like me, have spontaneity thrust upon them because their wrists just don't work the way
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you become like John Sargent, Dave, while you're creating the pages about John Marsh's heart attack, let me know.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'll be the first, Brian.
Thank you.
First.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on. So that was Mike Sewell's questions. Again, anybody who's gonna read all 300 issues and all of the backup stuff and whatnot, if you get to that point and you do have questions that you want to ask, we will make room for you on Please Hold for Dave Sim.